Welcome back to the Big Dogs Gotta Eat Fantasy Football channel. I'm fucking pumped up. I hope you guys are too. It is August, which means training camp is here, which means torn ACL season is upon us, which means fantasy football drafts are right around the corner. And I apologize for the long layoff of about the entire season last year. But we're back with a full vengeance. And for my 130, I'm proud of every one of those subscribers. Chocolate motherfucking daddy. For all my subscribers, I'm proud of every one of you. Y'all probably wondering where the other fellow big dogs at. George, Nick, I don't know where they're at. I mean, they live right around the corner, so I'm sure they'll be making appearances as the season progresses, as the off-season gets into it. But I just wanted to get back on track, get back on the tube, and be here for y'all, as I know some of you are stupid and have your drafts coming up while the preseason is in motion. So, I wanted to kick it off right. I wanted to kick it off quick. So we're going to get into a good episode hitting the three big suspended players. Le'Veon, Brady, Gordon. First episode of the 2016 fantasy football season. Big dogs, where you at? Hoo hoo! Cue the intro, baby. Boom. Imagine you worked a job like the NFL where you just have dudes being suspended left and right, like your office corporate job. You're like, oh yeah, my man Steve just got suspended for 4 weeks for smoking weed, or my man Tom just got suspended for 4 weeks for unplugging the computer screens or some bullshit like that. Like, that's how the NFL is. You think about it, it's a business, and they just have these ridiculous things going on. It doesn't matter. So let's talk some fantasy, because I know that's why you guys are here. And like I said, we're going to go over the three big name players that got suspended. All three of them out for 4 games. Tom Brady with the Deflategate. Le'Veon Bell for missing his drug test, even though he says he's going to win his appeal. 0% chance of that, I'll tell you that right now. And we have Josh Gordon being reinstated finally after his 3-year hiatus, back on the Cleveland Browns after a 4-game suspension, of course. So, I'll say it up front. Out of those 3 guys, there's only one guy I believe is worth reaching for. So let's start with him. We got Mr. Terrific Tom Brady of the New England Patriots, out for the first 4 games of the season. So we have Jimmy Garoppolo playing in his place. I don't recommend going out to grab him right away, but let's get into Tom Brady. He set the world ablaze last year with his stats, with his weapons around him, just the amount of success he had and the amount of fantasy points he put up on the way to finishing as QB2 behind only Cam Newton, who we know just absolutely dominated the game last year. Now, let's get into Tom Brady. This is probably the best group of guys around him he is going to have in his career. Possibly, Randy Moss might be better than every single player he's ever played with combined in 2007 or whenever he put up those ridiculous numbers. Besides that, being realistic, he has Edelman, he has Gronkowski, he has Martellus Bennett, he has Dion Lewis, and they have a couple other wide receivers who are going to compete for that second wide receiver job. You have Amendola, Chris Hogan, Malcolm Mitchell, the rookie. That spot, honestly, I don't even think is relevant, because they're going to be playing 2 tight end sets. That's going to be their base offense, so they will always have Martellus Bennett, they will always have Gronk, they'll always have Edelman, they'll always have either, LeGarrette Blount, Dion Lewis, whoever they play in the back. But what I'm saying is this is the best arsenal he's been around. And I want to show you a quick statistic. I'm going to put it on the screen right now. This is showing the percentage of pass plays that NFL teams had last year in 2015. You could see the Patriots are number 3 right up there. So you're like, hey, there's teams that pass more than them, there are teams right around them. But look at that list of teams. The Patriots are the only team in maybe the top 12 or 15 that are even somewhat good, even somewhat of a relevant offensive team. they're just basically what I'm trying to get at is the Patriots are ahead of their time, and they understand that this is turning into a complete passing league. That's how you move the chains. That's how you score points. That's how you get the job done. And the Patriots understand that now, which teams will eventually catch on to in the years coming. But just look at that list. They understand that they need to pass the ball way more than they need to run the ball. Patriots running game is short dump offs. Every time Tom Brady dumps off to Dion Lewis, who fucking scrambles because he has some Barry Sanders-esque moves, he's dropping a fantasy point for you right there. Tom Brady is going as the 72nd pick. So the beginning of the 8th round, if you do a 10-team league, or a little earlier, obviously, if you do a 12-team league. I'm not sure I'm okay reaching for him beyond that point because you're going to miss the 4 games. If you're in a 12-team league, I'm okay with it. If you're in a 10-team league, I'd probably see if he drops a little farther just because there's going to be so many quarterbacks available. After it hits the top 10 guys, there's still the next 8 guys I'd be okay starting. But Brady, like I said, man, all they do is pass the ball. They know exactly what they're doing. He's going to put up another 40 touchdowns. He's going to put up 4,500 yards. This is the best team he's had around him in a long, long time. So grab Brady if you can. I would be fine getting him in the 8th round. And then pick up a guy like Derek Carr. His first 4 weeks are New Orleans, Atlanta. I think he plays, let me see, Tennessee, Baltimore. Look at Derek Carr. You can grab him as the 13th, 14th, 15th quarterback in your league. You know what I mean? So you'll have Tom Brady sitting on the bench you have for 4 weeks. As soon as he gets back, you have a top 3 quarterback right there, guaranteed. Another interesting stat, Tom Brady's had 3 rushing touchdowns or more in 3 of the last 5 years. So it's not something it's not something you'd be like, oh, I want Brady because of his rushing upside, but they utilize that 1-yard sneak for Brady flawlessly, especially at the goal line. So that's just added value to the man. You know, he's going to make up those fantasy points that he loses for you for the first 4 weeks. Next, I want to get into my man, Le'Veon Bell, who cannot stay out of trouble. For as amazing as a player as he is, man, there's just so many problems around this dude. He's one of those guys that is a game changer in every sense of the word. If you have him on your team, you feel confident putting him out there every single week as your RB1. He's going to put up 20 points for you. The problem is, man, this is the second time he's dealing with drug-related incidents. I understand it wasn't a failed test or anything like that, but at a point you gotta look at the maturity level. You know what I mean? Like, who knows within the next 6 weeks if he does something stupid again, just out of pride or out of immaturity or anything like that. But that aside, the immaturity aside, there's also an injury risk there. A lot of people probably don't even realize this. In 2013, his rookie year, he missed the entire training camp, the entire preseason with a foot injury. In 2014, he hyperextended his knee. And then obviously last year, he tore his PCL, his MCL, the fucking CLs, all that. Anything you can mess up in your knee, this guy did it. So what I'm saying is that's 2 knee injuries within the last 2 years. He's not a guaranteed safe pick to play all 16 games, or all, should I say, 12 games. So you're already missing him for 4 out of your 13 or 14 fantasy games, and now you have to worry about him staying healthy for all those. Otherwise, you're not getting any return on your value. And I understand you're going to have to pick Le'Veon Bell. In a family league, in a league that's not that competitive, I would assume he's still going to be going top 8 because of his name. People think they're getting a value or a steal. His ADP right now is between the 9 to 11 range, and I'm sure by the time the summer rolls around, it's September, it'll probably get a little lower. I'm expecting it to drop into the early to mid 2nd round. But me, to be honest with you, I'm not touching him until probably the late 2nd round. I think there's a ton of elite wide receivers I would take before him, just based on safety. If he's going to go in the 9 to 11 range, man, I'll take D-Hop. I will take A.J. Green. I will take Alshon Jeffrey. I will take Brandon Marshall, all before I take Le'Veon Bell. Because of all the things I just mentioned prior to that, the injuries, the immaturity. So another thing is D'Angelo Williams. I mean, I don't have to tell you how good he was last year when Le'Veon Bell was out. I don't have to tell you that he scored top 5 running back numbers too many times when Le'Veon Bell was out. I don't have to tell you that he was a top 12 back every single week that Le'Veon Bell was out. I mean, he wasn't actually, but I don't have to, that's why I said I don't have to tell you that. Anyways, what I'm saying is I'm actually more comfortable not taking Le'Veon Bell, stacking up your wide receivers in the early rounds, say round 1, 2, 3, even 4, depending on what your league format is, and then reaching up for D'Angelo Williams and say, I think his ADP is around 70 or 60 in the 6 to 7 round range. I'd be okay reaching into the 5th, late 5th, maybe even early 5th, 5th, 6th round and getting D'Angelo Williams, because you know exactly what you're getting from him. There will be no time split there. He's getting every single touch, goal line carry, receptions, all that stuff. So you're guaranteed an RB1 for 4 weeks. By that time of the season, by week 5, there's guys that you could pick up off the waiver wire. Dion Lewis was a guy who came around week 1 last year. There's plenty of those guys that break out early in the season that you can get on. So my suggestion would be to stack up on the wide receivers early, and I really, really like D'Angelo Williams. Now, like I said, D-Will's got the easy path to all these touches, all these targets. This success is laid out for him. All he has to do is show up. So my thinking is this: when Le'Veon gets back in week 5, assuming he is fully healthy, that's saying that his knee is completely good to go after that terrible injury last year. Do you think the Steelers are just going to say, hey, Le'Veon, after 2 back-to-back years with serious knee injuries, we're just going to throw you back into the mix? This is their franchise running back, and they're going to want to re-sign him next year. I don't think they're going to want to give him the workload that he saw last year. Last year in the games that Le'Veon was back, the 6 games he played, the split was 85% to 15%. Le'Veon took almost all the touches, all the carries. Now, like I just said, do you think they're going to want to risk that again? What if Le'Veon ends up, going 85% of the touches again and tears his ACL? You gotta look at this as a bigger football picture, not just fantasy wise. The Steelers are going to have to be smart about this. I don't think having Le'Veon as good as he is as the ultimate workhorse, 25, 30 touches a game, is really going to be the most effective thing for them. So, I mean, like I said, I love Le'Veon. I think his talent is undeniable. When he's fully healthy, I would say he's the number 1 running back in the league. I love the guy. I love watching him. He's mad fun to watch. His cuts are unbelievable. Looked like LaShawn McCoy like 3 years ago, having defenders look fucking silly. But I think there's enough red flags that I'm not okay using my first or probably my 2nd round pick on him. There is a great website. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. Sports Injury Predictor. These guys are pretty solid when it comes to these things. They predict whether or not, what are the chances that a guy will have an injury this upcoming season. And from my experiences looking at it, I always thought it was bullshit. I was like, oh, these are just stupid numbers, a percentage, just whatever. I'm going to draft a guy because I think he's good. From my experiences, these websites, or this website in particular, has been pretty spot on. As you can see, they have Le'Veon as a 75% risk, which is pretty high. Like I said before, man, you're already missing 4 games from him. If he misses even 2 more games from injury or something like that, that's half the fantasy season right there. You want to use your 1st or 2nd round pick on a guy who's not even going to play half the games? I don't know, man. This is all just advice. Do whatever the do, man. Last up, we have Mr. Should I say Mrs. Manziel? No, Joshua Gordon, who, if you're on Snapchat, I would highly suggest going to follow Johnny Manziel. He's a great follow. It doesn't look like he's been sober since he said he was. The dude's partying pretty damn hard, but I'm just saying I'd like to go out with him one night. Anyways, jokes aside, Josh Gordon is a guy I'm completely staying away from. I've been listening to podcasts, I've been reading articles about Josh Gordon. Some people are reaching into like the 5th or 6th round to get this guy, and I think that is absurd. Absurd to the point where I'm not touching Josh Gordon unless he falls into the 8th, 9th, 10th round. The reasons being, this guy has played 5 NFL games over the last 3 years now. He didn't play at all in 2015. He played 5 games in 2014. You have to go all the way back to 2013 to the last time he played, a large portion of games, which is, I think he played 14. And obviously, everyone saw the potential he had. He was the #1 fantasy wide receiver without playing a full season. That's fucking ridiculous. But he came back in 2014 and he played 6 games. In those 6 games, or was it 5 games? Sorry, I'm like the most unprofessional motherfucker ever. 5 games he played in 2014. He averaged a little over 4 catches a game and 60 yards a game. That's in 2014, 1 year following his breakout season. Now you think 2 more years of not playing football is going to get him back to that elite wide receiver 1 status? Not that you have to draft him as a wide receiver 1, obviously, but if you're going to reach into the 5th or 6th round, I don't know, you're taking a damn big fucking chance on him. My thoughts are he's going back to the Browns. They're going to have RG3 as his quarterback, who's been god fucking awful. He's been awful last few times he's played. When Josh Gordon blew up in 2013, they had no one else on the team. Now they have rookie stud Corey Coleman. They have Gary Barnidge at tight end. They have Duke Johnson. Both of those two were top 5 in targets at their position last year. So a ton of targets are going to these guys already. So Josh Gordon is not going to see that 170, 160 target mark again because they already have weapons. I mean, slowly and surely, this Cleveland team is actually building up a little bit of an arsenal over here. But back to the point is he's been away from football for so long. He's been training on his own. He already messed up his quad this preseason, so he's out for the next couple weeks. He's been training on his own, messed up his quad. Now he's got to miss more time. Like, the guy's clearly not in the best of shape if he's working out on his own. Why not work out with the Cleveland guys if you're going to be at training camp with them, He's working out on his own. He pulls his quad. Now who knows what kind of shape he's going to be in when he gets back into the swing of things. It's going to take him a long time. He's got a new playbook to learn. He's got new teammates to build chemistry with. Who knows what kind of chemistry him and RG3 still have. I understand they went to Baylor together, but that was 4 years ago. I would expect RG3 not to start every game this year. He's going to be working with multiple quarterbacks. There's way too many red flags for me to even think about drafting Gordon as anything more than my wide receiver 4 or 5. Like, you know what? If you can get 3, 4 solid wide receivers prior to getting Gordon and you still get him at a decent value, I'd be okay with that. But if you're drafting him and see him as your wide receiver 2 or 3, I think you're making a huge mistake. I mean, the big playability is there. It wouldn't surprise me if at one point he put up 150-yard, 2-touchdown performance this year. That will not be the regular. That will not be the norm. So all in all, I'm not telling you to avoid him completely, but there's no way in hell my ass is taken. He won't be on any of my teams. Let someone else in your league reach on him and capitalize on those bad picks. That wraps up first episode of the 2016 off season for Big Dogs Gotta Eat Fantasy. We covered Le'Veon, we covered Tom, and we covered Joshua Gordon. Hope you all enjoyed. I had fun doing it, and we will be back. Hopefully I'll be putting up 2 to 3, maybe 4 videos a week. I want to keep them short, between 10 and 20 minutes. I know this one actually might have got up there. Got 20 minutes right now. Chop it down. You need to cut it. I'll chop them down a little bit. And yeah, it's nice and short for you guys. So you guys can get little tidbits out. And comment below, like my shit, share my shit, comment on things you want to see, any other videos that you're interested in, any questions you might have. You could hit us up on Twitter at bdge, stands for Big Dogs Gotta Eat, bdge _fantasyfb. Hit us up at Twitter. I love y'all.